Howdy. Welcome back to Yates American B244. In this episode we're going to go through the very delicate and very tedious process of replacing one of the leads and then putting new insulation on all the rest of them. We're also going to put some fiberglass over the windings and seal it off with some fresh varnish. On a previous episode of Yates American B244, to try as I might, the insulation on the leads is just shattering. A friend on OWM suggested heating up the insulation to see if it's more flexible. So I heated this up in the oven to 170 degrees, and it did seem to make it a little more flexible. So my goal is to graft a new lead onto this and then re-insulate all the leads. My last attempt at this with a 25-watt soldering iron was an epic fail. So I'm going to try again with a bigger soldering iron. I don't know if this bigger piece will shrink down enough, but we're going to put it on there. Okay, so re-insulating the existing leads is going well but slowly. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to get 2 layers of the smaller tubing all the way down to the old insulation. And then I get a layer of the next size up tubing all the way down, overlapping the old insulation just a little bit. And then finally, I have large tubing that goes over the whole area, including at least an inch or so of the old insulation. Well, I was working on this T3 lead and I accidentally pulled off a chunk of insulation from the lead. So I very carefully have been chiseling away below it and making sure that I can get shrink tubing down below there. Let's see if we can thread this insulation onto this. The last little bit has been the most difficult on them so far. For the second layer of small tubing, I've found I've had to do it in shorter sections and then overlap the sections. Something I've been doing is I've been flaring out one end of the tube just to make it a little easier to get onto the existing tubing or over the wire. And the third layer is a little bigger piece of tubing. And then here's the final layer. The goal is to get it all the way down as far as possible. There. I'm going to put some fiberglass over these re-insulated leads, but I want to bind them down in place with some tape first. I'm going to go ahead and venture to call an idiot whoever was prying on this. reinforce all this area with some fiberglass, but all these leads need to come out of that core at a particular location to line up with a hole in the motor base. So I'm going to use this little template to do that. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but this is how I'm doing it. Well, that's my first layer of fiberglass, and it probably could have gone a lot better. I think in hindsight, it would have been better to put on the fiberglass sheets and then wrap the tape around things, but we'll just have to write that down as hindsight. It's kind of nice outside, and I was stinking up the house with this varnish, so I moved outside. While I'm waiting for this latest coat of varnish to dry, I thought I'd better check the leads after doing all that surgery. So the T7, 8, and 9, they're reading 0.5 to 0.6 ohms. That's kind of a new reading, that 0.5. They were all 0.6 before. Then T1, 4, 2, and 5, 3, and 6, they're still reading, kind of varying between 0.3 and 0.4 ohms. I don't know if those are good numbers or not, but they're somewhat consistent. After this coat cures overnight, I'll come back and put one more coat over everything. And then later on I'll come back and I'll repair the damage on the other end. I'm going to re-tin these leads. For one thing, I didn't do a very good job the first time around. For another, I've added an extra strand to some of the leads because a couple of the original strands were broken back here, and so I ran a new strand all the way back to as far as I could go, and so I'm going to tin all those together. With the motor leads repaired and insulated, I took the Stator over to T. Gray Electric in Dallas, Texas, and they hooked it up to one of their winding analyzers. They checked surge, mega ohm, high pot, ohms balance, offline equipment rating, capacitance, inductance, impedance, phase angle, Q factor, and a few other things, and it totally checked out. So with that, the Stator is in excellent condition to be put back into service. Well, thanks again for watching. In a future episode, we'll get the cutter head refurbished a little bit and the motor reinstalled and see if we can do a run-up.